I was debating whether to do a video talking about, well, the idea of a satanic cult that's kidnapping people and doing all sorts of ungodly things to women, children, and probably some guys who were roofied and didn't see it coming. Kind of like that one that I didn't see Chris Brown's fist coming, but that's beside the point. Well, so you know what? Fuck it. Since this is the October month, I'm gonna do what I did that one year when I released my Stingy Jack video, which honestly that makes it sound bigger than it actually was, but fuck it. Um, One of my favorite monsters, especially from that classic black and white era that I used to love reading about when I was in middle school, because like back then, I'm pretty sure I read every book that library had on horror movies, to the point that the librarian was kind of butthurt about it, like to the point she was telling my mom, like, yeah, he needs to read something else. He's like, mom was like, well, what does it matter? He's reading. But yeah, I loved reading about Frankenstein's monster. That was probably one of my favorite monsters of that classical era of horror films, and probably even from literature. Even though I've barely read Frankenstein or Dracula, I still love those monsters. Although I have gone back to, I do have a copy of both books now, so I could rectify that shit. But so I love that monster. And one of the funniest things about Frankenstein to me, like the Frankenstein's monster and Victor Frankenstein, is, well, one, Victor Frankenstein is an asshole. Like, he's not, and not even the good kind of asshole. Like, being an asshole, I say this all the time, being an asshole is an art form. It's at least amusing. There's some spectacle to it. Victor Frankenstein doesn't have that going for him. He's just a douchebag. He's a douchebag asshole. He's like Adam Sessler. The difference is when he came out of the womb, I'm pretty sure the midwife who delivered him didn't consider suicide. Joking, of course. And the monster, well, the monster is, in a weird way, he is kind of a victim. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of like with the French Revolutionaries. Yeah, they were in a serious situation, but then they became just as bad as the people who they hated. And by just as bad, I mean they did worse. Like they murdered and snuggled a lot of people. But that's beside the point. But one of the coolest things about that one is kind of like with Dracula. One of the coolest things about these two was learning some things that may or may not have been an influence on their stories originally. With Dracula, it was mostly Romanian folklore, although mainly the small bits of information Bram Stoker probably actually did read. Whereas with Frankenstein, like, we know some of what may have influenced Mary Shelley, but the funny thing was, for me anyway, especially when I entered college and I started looking up more and more, was two things. One, there was an actual Frankenstein family, although I kind of knew this beforehand. But there was actually a family, and it turns out Mary Shelley, at one point, she was actually not across a lake from where their castle is. But the other thing is there's some cool lore there with that family. And also, it turns out there are four men who may or may not have inspired Victor Frankenstein. One of these, Mary Shelley was aware of, apparently. Like, she had contacted the Grimm brothers about one of them. And I wanted to talk about these two things. One is a local legend of Berg Frankenstein, the castle where the Frankenstein family was from. And the other are these four men who may or may not have been the inspiration. And that's more or less what this is, just as, since it's the spooky month, fuck it. Anyway, let's begin. Now, to begin this, we are going to, of course, be going first into the four men who may or may not, debatably, had an influence on the Frankenstein character of Victor. And I just want to set this also out there. Some of this is stuff I saw in a documentary years ago that I looked up later, so take it all with a grain of salt. Actually, not a grain of salt. Take all of what I'm about to tell you with so much salt that if Lot saw it, he would probably mistake it for his ex-wife. But four guys: Luigi Galvani, Giovanni Aldini. I'm just going to assume these are Italians. Well, one of these is. Oh, I'm sorry, an Italian Polynesian. Third is Andre Ur, who may or may not have been a freak himself, from if that performance of the actor in the documentary was anything to go by. And Jonathan Conrad Dipple, who actually lived in Castle Frankenstein at one point. Luigi Galvani, if that name sounds familiar to you, he was an Italian Polynesian scientist and physician who was fascinated with electricity and lightning. The term galvanized comes from him. It comes from his last name. And what he did was he found a way to use electricity to make frog legs kind of move. And he developed and believed the idea of animal electricity, or what we now call heat electricity. He performed an experiment where he took a scalp charged with electricity and touched the legs of a dead frog, causing them to make a jumping motion. The funny thing is, the story behind how he came to this was one time his wife decided to make him frog's legs, which was a meal he enjoyed, I guess. And it was thundering outside when this happened. And I think the story was he, I guess, saw them moving each time the lightning struck, and he was like, wait a fucking minute. I could work with this. And that's how he got to that. Giovanni Aldini was his nephew and a supporter of Galvani, who was less famous than his uncle, which that shocks me, considering his experiment was way more creepy. He performed experiments of electricity with corpses of animals and humans using 2 conductor rods linked to a fucking battery. The fuck, man? He was a physician from Italy. Okay, that explains why both these fuckers sound like they're fond of pasta. Born in Bologna. His most famous experiment was performed on a hanged criminal, George Forrester, at Newgate, London in 1803. And what he would do was he took these rods and he would place them on certain parts of the body. If you place them on the legs would jump up. You place them on the arms, they would jump up. You place them on both sides of the head, the eyes and the mouth would open. It would look like he was screaming in pain. It was really weird. And I think I heard Mary Shelley might have actually heard of this experiment, and she thought it was creepy. It's been years since I heard that part, but yeah, apparently she heard her dad and a friend of his talking about this, and it was fucking weird. Really fucking weird. I cannot stress that enough. Number 3 is Andre Ure, a Scottish scientist, which may explain some of the creepy factor. Just joking, Highlanders. But then again, you are related to the Critical Drinker's assness, and he unironically said Wesley Snipes doesn't know who he's playing in Blade, which, by the way, Critical Drinker, fuck you for that. But I'm up. Tangent aside. He was a Scottish scientist, chemist, industrialist, philosopher, business theorist, and scholar. Interested in electricity. He would perform experiments grisly by making small incisions to a body and placing small probes, and not the anal kind. So get your mind out of the gutter. In the fresh wounds, after draining the body of blood, and charged the probes with electricity, which caused the limbs to move, the eyes to open, and the face to make various expressions, making it look as if the man had truly returned to life. Like, in the reenactment they made it look like when he took the probe, he didn't put it in the forehead, he took it and had it touch the forehead. And actually, in the performance they gave, it looked like blood was coming off the head. Actually, it was. And while this probe was on it with electricity conducting into it, the face would contort and make all these weird manner of expressions. And at one point in the performance, Ure made a finger point to one guy, which caused the poor bastard to faint because he was so scared. Remember, this is the 1800s. Their nerves were not as tough, especially outside of war. And he was kind of a freak in the performance they gave, so I don't know if he was actually a weirdo or not, but the performer definitely gave me that impression. Because he seemed to be getting off on it, and I'm hoping just figuratively. And then we come to number 4, Jonathan Conrad Dippel. He was a German scientist, priest, theologian, alchemist, and physician who lived in the 17th and 18th century. Born in the real castle Frankenstein. He was born in Berg, Frankenstein. A free thinker, dedicated to his work, living a chaste life, dying a virgin. I don't know why they had to include that in the information, but hey, fuck it. People are into weird shit these days. Suffered various rumors, possibly spread by the clergy, to be the devil incarnate, and this may have been a result because they could not challenge him academically, so it was like, we're just going to character assassinate him. That's what they allegedly did, but again, some of this came from a documentary, and documentaries now are notoriously and infamous for spreading the message that religion bad. So, again, reportedly in a letter from Jacob Grimm, Mary learned stories about him, and when she was headed for Geneva with Percy, there is a speculated possibility that she may have visited the real Castle Frankenstein. He was also said to have created a substance called dipple oil through the use of animal bones, I have misspelled this, and liquid. Though it did not prolong life as some claimed he had hoped, it did act as a powerful muscle stimulant. And this guy was kind of a weirdo. Well, I say weirdo. To them, he was probably a freak. To me, he would probably be no different than most of the people I would hang out with in high school. He kept to himself for the most part. He never found a way to make lead into gold, unfortunately. Lots of us are sad about that, I'm sure. Let's have a brief moment of grief for that. Anyway, those are the 4 men who may or may not have inspired Victor Frankenstein. On to the next one. Okay, this next one is a knight. His name was George Frankenstein, and yeah, I'm aware George does not sound like much of a German name. It turns out they may have spelled it differently at the time. He is more of a local legend associated with Berg Frankenstein. And I tried looking this up not that long ago after a conversation with Z to see if it was on the level, because I was telling him this from memory. What happened was, now, Berg Frankenstein, of course, is in Germany. As we all know, Germans are notorious for their mythology, including killers of dragons like Siegfried. He did a fucking good job, I might add, killing Fafnir. And George Frankenstein was said to have killed a dragon himself. Like, apparently a woman was going to be sacrificed to it, and he was quite fond of this lady, so he decided to kill the dragon instead. Like, fuck that oversized Argonian, I'm killing his ass. He did succeed. Unfortunately, though, it came at the cost of his own life, and you should be seeing an image of him. The unfortunate thing is, he died of his wounds from this. Like, the image you're seeing is it shows a tail of the dragon wrapped around his leg. This may be an indication that the dragon's tail pierced the leg. I want to say greave. It's hard for me to remember what that part of the knight armor is called, but yeah, he killed the dragon in the story, but he died as a result. He still saved the lady, but yeah, it cost him his life. And one of the funny things was, when I first heard this story, it's speculated that there may have been a member of the Frankenstein family who, quite possibly, maybe, you never know, kinda, sorta, was rivals with Vlad the Impaler, the actual Dracula. Part of me wants to hope that's real, because, Jesus Christ, we think monster movie crossovers are cool. That sounds even better. A real Frankenstein with a real Dracula. And they were enemies. Actually, I'd pay money for that, to see that interaction. Now I'm hoping that part's on the level. But this was just a cool story, and he was a knight. Like an actual fucking knight. And the thing that gets me about this is, when I told Z this, I think he misunderstood me. He was like, well, he was a scientist. You can't really... Well, no. The real Castle Frankenstein is an actual castle. Victor Frankenstein did not have a castle originally. He did all this while he was still at university. So there was no castle for him to work with. But, yeah, anyway. Those are the stories. I just thought I would share these for the spooky season, Samhain and all that crap, and the Celtic whatever. And by the way, to those who like to bitch about cultural appropriation, you're appropriating my Anglo heritage, comrades. Fuck off. But, yeah, I just thought this was cool. And also, again, how awesome would that be if an actual German knight named Frankenstein somehow pissed off Vlad the Impaler, Dracula himself? That would be cool. And honestly, I want to know what he did to piss him off, or why they hate each other, because they were both fellow Christians, technically. I mean, you can say what you want about him being cruel. I mean, yeah, but he was also a stickler for the rules. So, all the people who like to bitch about Vlad can blow me for the privilege. Also, he wasn't that out of place, depending on who you ask. But that's the video. Have a nice day, and Yamiro hid. Also, fuck Victor Frankenstein and Fate Apocrypha. He did Fran dirty.